Good evening. Tonight I'll be taking you through the information for you to do the case study task 5 and task 6 for module 1, cert 3. So to start with, I'm going to go back to task 4. So task 4 required you to get information about your clients. So if I just open up an example. So task 4, you would have done this form for each of your clients, the 3 clients. So collecting information, we have information about how they scored with squats, push-ups, all the tests. So collecting all that data. It's important to know also for task 4, you would have also compared this data to some norms. So by norms, we're comparing it to normative data to see how they performed. Okay, so we'll go straight into task 5 now. So task 5. Okay, so question 1 we're looking at reviewing and interpreting the information results gathered for the pre-screening and appraisal. So as I mentioned, task 4 was gathering the information. So once you've done task 4, you can go straight to task 5. Now asking us to review and to interpret it and to write a report for each of the findings. So we've got to write some information about what we found in the fitness appraisal for the older adult, the female, and the athlete. So each of your 3 clients. The stuff we want to be looking at or talking about for our report would include just general performance. So I'm just going to be flicking through the guidance and also an example of one. So first one, general performance. So we put down here, generally overall, my base was strong. So we put down an overall statement. Number 2, we're going to be looking at some areas of strengths and weaknesses. So this student here has talked about, the concerns being the BMI, the waist to hip. So these areas are we're looking at weight loss because that's their goal. So generally, they're talking about those areas. And we've got a statement here that the client was an ex-athlete. So she's also made a statement about how it's uncomfortable, but also has some sort of, skill acquisition benefits. Also things to include, as I said, depends on the client who you're doing it for. But other things you want to be reporting about is any medical injuries noted, any factors in stage 2 pre-screening. So you might want to also go back to task 1 if you wish. So if we go back, case study 1, as you remember, was collecting the information. I'll just get one up quickly. So I think it's task 2, my mistake. Yep, so task 2 is where you did the 3 pre-screening forms, 1 per client. So this is just more information and data for you to go through. So we are reporting and reviewing all the results. So we can also just be mentioning about some results we scored in here. If they answered yes to any questions here, we can put that down. If they've got any risk factors, all that data we can use just to be writing about our information results. Other things we might include is also just a summary and any goals as well. As you can see here, statement, some concerns, and a closing statement would be good. So number 2, we're looking at just describing, so like what are some available programs, services, and facilities that are relevant to the client and their expectations and needs. So again, this is all depending on your client and what their goals are. But here are some examples. So I'll put down for an older adult, you might want to engage in some personal training. They might need to have that personal touch, personal service. They might not have been in the gym for a while, so that might be a bit more relevant to their needs. There's also lots of adult or older adult specific classes a lot of gyms run. Might be a bit better for what they want to do. So for female specific, a lot of the group training options seem to be a bit more female skewed. So things like your F45s, things like FitStop, things like that. If you've gone a little bit further, there's still things like curves or mums and bubs specific, and yoga and Pilates, depending on the goal of the client, very different for each person. For an athlete, things like just gym memberships, even some specific services, EP, biomechanics, things like that. But for each one, we just want to describe, because it does say to describe. So once we've listed it, we want to give an example of why that will be beneficial to your client. So looking at the example here, we've got this student's put down for her older adult group training, and she's put down, I believe they'll benefit from this because he's an older athlete and works well in group environments, and also it's a good way to keep him fit and moving the body and socializing as well in the community. So good answer there, and that's a good description. So for that, so name one, at least one for each, describe why it's going to benefit your client. 5.3, we're looking at what are the features and benefits of your facilities, programs and services for each client. So this could be depending on where you're going to train, where you anticipate the client will train. So you can see for this one, they're naming a gym at Belmore. Same for the female, but also this one here, though, the client will be training at the Giants gym, which I'm guessing is the AFL team. So it depends on what type of environment they're looking at, but I just want you to explain what are the features and benefits of each area that you'll be doing. So as I said, describe the local features. Also describe the program. So if you anticipate they'll be doing an at-home program, write reasons why. So I've written them out at-home program because it's easy for them. They're beginners. They don't have much time. Describe what you'll be doing, or even just any services you can write about or talk about. So if you might refer them to yoga once a week, just describe why you'll be doing it. All right, so pretty similar to the last one, but this is now just talking about, it just wants to know your knowledge about what are some other AHP, so allied health professionals out there in the industry. So our job is fitness, but there are lots of services that we should refer them on or offer to them so we can get them healthy, whatever's best for them in the long term. So this is just getting you to describe what each one of these ones are. So pretty much to start your answer off, just describe it. So yoga, if we put down, just talking about what yoga is. And this student's done a good answer saying, again, this service will benefit all three of her clients because, and she's given a reason. So as it says there, research, compare the services. So start off by saying what it is and just sort of try to relate it to your clients. Number 2 here is an outdoor boot camp, described it, and she has said that it'll be beneficial for her older client and females because the group training is more for them. So 5.5, again, a bit of an overlap, but now we're just going further into now finally getting to the part where we're going to tell the client what we should be doing with them. So this is now, because this is a case study, 3 real clients, we're discussing a recommendation that you would be recommending the client to be doing. So you might have mentioned these before, but it's more of a finalization saying that this is what you'll be saying to the client. I recommend that this is doing. So it is done to discuss your recommendation. So again, first person, this client's saying, after chatting to my client, I'm aware of this. And then we're just sort of putting a final full stop on, I believe you fit is the purpose thing because it allows this. So we're just simply sort of saying that, again, you've described it, but you're pretty much just sort of saying, I believe this is going to be the best for you because of X, Y, and Z, because we've gone through here and we've sort of said, this is what you can do. Here's your facilities. Here's all these things. So we're sort of saying a final thing to say, I recommend that you be doing this and say why. Another good way of doing it is also explain why you've chosen it, but also link it back to the goals. So just say because of your goal is to increase your flexibility. So I'll be recommending you to this yoga studio. Just link it back. All right, last question for task 5 is now, once we've sort of done that, we need to discuss the recommendations, but also start to put together a bit of a overview. So it's not too detailed, but it's just like a snapshot of the things, a basic sort of overview of how a week could look. So here's an example. This one's for the athlete client. Again, it's really specific on the client you've done, the level they're at, what types of things. So here's there's an example of how it could look. This client, might have a gym session, then team training, more of a cardio, and then again, similar thing. So they've got some solid training here, and then rest day, then play, and then recovery. So it's just sort of looking at an overview of sort of breaking it up. The gym sessions there are sort of split, avoid that. Again, it's going to be really different to how you do things. Also, the athlete's going to look very different compared to the older adult. The athlete client would be, semi-professional. So you could even just use your example of what you would do to structure that with your athlete. As you can see, this one's pretty detailed, court sessions, massage, like that, compared to, one day at the gym, day off, another day at the gym. So every second day for a general pop client, which is good. That's fine. Just an overview of what they'd be doing. So that's task 5. So I'll close that one.